Hello everyone. For 30 years, Johnny Carson didn't just host The Tonight Show, he defined it. Every night, he stepped behind that famous desk, straightened his tie, and invited the biggest stars in America to sit just a few feet away from him. Under those bright studio lights, with millions watching, the masks came off. There were no publicists to interrupt, no managers to coach answers, no social media to rewrite history afterward. On Carson's stage, celebrities revealed who they really were, sometimes charming, sometimes brilliant, and sometimes shockingly ugly. And that's the part most people forget, because while Johnny Carson delivered jokes and laughter to the country, he also exposed a truth that Hollywood worked hard to hide. Some of its most beloved legends carried beliefs rooted in racism, entitlement, and an America that was rapidly changing around them. These weren't slip-ups. These weren't misunderstandings. These were raw, real, on-air moments that millions witnessed live. Today, we're pulling back that curtain. These are not rumors, not internet myths. These were moments captured on one of the most powerful shows in television history, The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. This is the 7 most racist guests Johnny Carson ever had, and the shocking truths America never forgot. Few stars embodied the myth of the classic American hero more than John Wayne. Strong, stoic, rugged, and larger than life, Wayne became the symbol of frontier justice and old-school masculinity. But in 1971, when he gave a now infamous interview to Playboy, the heroic image cracked. In the interview, John Wayne didn't hide behind coded language or suggestive phrasing. He openly declared his belief in white supremacy. He defended European colonizers taking land from Native Americans, claiming Native communities were selfishly trying to keep land for themselves. The country was stunned, and so was Johnny Carson. Wayne continued appearing on The Tonight Show, but the chemistry had changed forever. The warm laughter and easy banter of earlier years cooled into something distant and polite. Johnny Carson never confronted Wayne directly. That wasn't his style, but the shift was visible. The sparkle faded from their conversations. Carson kept the interviews respectful, but he no longer leaned in with enthusiasm. It was a silent acknowledgement that the world around them was evolving, and John Wayne was refusing to evolve with it. America still admired him, but the divide between the honorable characters he played and the beliefs he held had become impossible to ignore. Another towering figure in entertainment was Bob Hope, one of the most beloved comedians ever to sit across from Johnny Carson. From vaudeville to radio to film to television, Bob Hope built a legacy that touched generations. His USO tours made him a national treasure. His charm and timing made him a comedy giant. But Bob Hope also came from an era where blackface, exaggerated accents, and racial stereotypes were built into mainstream comedy. And unlike many of his contemporaries, who acknowledged the harm of those old routines, Hope refused to apologize or reconsider. Even into the 1970s and 1980s, he occasionally slipped outdated racial jokes into his Tonight Show appearances. When he did, Johnny Carson's reactions became subtle but unmistakable. The smile tightened. Carson shifted in his chair, and then, with elegant skill, he redirected, guiding the conversation away from territory he knew no longer belonged on national television. It created a quiet tension, respect for a legend on one side, and a clear understanding on the other that America was moving forward, while Bob Hope remained anchored to the past. Then there was Charlton Heston, the cinematic titan best known for films like Ben-Hur, The 10 Commandments, Planet of the Apes, and Soylent Green. His screen presence was undeniable, his voice commanding, his image iconic. But as the civil rights era reshaped America, Charlton Heston shifted into outspoken conservative activism, eventually becoming president of the NRA. In his later years, Heston's public comments often dismissed systemic racism. He frequently mocked civil rights leaders, portrayed racism as a thing of the past, and framed modern racial concerns as exaggerated. Johnny Carson, aware of the growing tension, instructed his writers to steer his interviews with Heston toward film nostalgia, personal stories, and light-hearted topics. You can watch the interviews today and feel the difference. Carson remained polite, even gracious, but not warm, not connected, not close. He respected Charlton Heston as an actor, but he understood the troubling undertones that had become part of Heston's public identity. If there was one guest who tested Carson, NBC, and the audience more than anyone else, it was Don Rickles, the king of insult comedy. Don Rickles made his career attacking stereotypes, races, ethnicities, religions, everyone and anyone. His slurs were fast, his jokes were wild, his material was shocking even in the 1960s and 1970s. But here's the twist, many of the people he insulted loved him, including Sammy Davis Jr., whom Rickles once called a spear chucker on stage. Johnny Carson had a genuine affection for Rickles. They were real friends, both on and off camera. But that friendship put Carson in a difficult position. Some nights, Johnny's laughter was uncontrollable. Other nights, you could see him tense up, knowing Rickles was skidding dangerously close to lines that modern audiences and NBC executives no longer tolerated. In fact, Carson once warned producers, if he says that word again. Cut to commercial. It was a delicate balancing act, loyalty to a friend versus responsibility to a changing country. Don Rickles remained hilarious, unpredictable, and undeniably talented. But he also embodied a style of comedy America was slowly, painfully outgrowing. Another complex presence on The Tonight Show was Burt Reynolds, the charismatic Southern heartthrob whose playful smile and effortless charm made him one of Johnny Carson's most beloved recurring guests. Burt Reynolds wasn't just funny, he was electric. One of the most memorable examples came during a 1978 appearance, when Burt Reynolds made a series of jokes about Native Americans. What he intended as humor landed with a thud. The jokes were dismissive, built on stereotypes, and painfully out of touch with the growing awareness of indigenous struggles in America. The response was immediate and unusually serious. In a time when complaints required handwritten letters and postage stamps, hundreds of viewers still reached out to NBC to voice their anger and disappointment. Johnny Carson, ever the quiet guardian of his show's dignity, responded without theatrics, no public rebuke, no on-air correction. Instead, he made a behind-the-scenes decision that spoke volumes. He ordered the entire segment removed from reruns for years. It was deliberate, thoughtful, and unmistakably firm. Carson's approach reflected his philosophy. He didn't humiliate his guests, but he didn't tolerate harmful behavior either. With Burt Reynolds, he chose the path he mastered best: correction through action, not confrontation. Then came Red Skelton, a legendary entertainer from an earlier generation whose career spanned vaudeville, radio, and early television. Red Skelton was a foundational figure in American comedy, beloved for decades. But he also came from a time when minstrel shows, blackface, and racial caricatures were considered normal parts of entertainment. Unlike others who adjusted with the times, Skelton refused to evolve. Into the 1970s and 1980s, he defended minstrel traditions, criticized networks for becoming desensitive, and insisted that the racial humor of his early career was harmless. His Tonight Show appearances became increasingly uncomfortable. Audiences laughed politely, but the joy had faded. And Johnny Carson, who admired Skelton deeply, gently guided him away from outdated commentary, while still honoring his monumental contributions to comedy. But perhaps the most unapologetically outdated guest of all was Buddy Hackett, the comedian who clung fiercely to the old comedy of accents, stereotypes, and slur-laden routines. Buddy Hackett refused to modernize. He delivered the same material in the 1980s that he had told in the 1940s. Eventually, one of his Tonight Show routines sparked so much concern that Johnny Carson banned it from ever airing again. Carson never humiliated him. He never cut ties. But the message was unmistakable. Certain parts of the past were no longer welcome. On America's biggest late-night stage, Buddy Hackett belonged to another era, and he refused to leave it. These 7 guests weren't just individuals. They were symbols of America itself, old beliefs clashing with new realities. From the early 1960s to the early 1990s, while Johnny Carson sat behind his desk, America transformed. Racism didn't disappear, but the conversations around it changed forever. And because The Tonight Show was the most watched program in late-night history, these transformations played out live. Carson was not an activist. He was not a preacher. He didn't deliver speeches or create controversy, but he evolved in quieter ways. A tightened smile, a quick pivot, a missing rerun, a shift in tone, a silent boundary drawn with grace. He understood America, what it was, what it had been, and what it was trying to become. When Johnny Carson closed the curtain in 1992, he didn't just end an era, he left behind a mirror reflecting America's struggle, growth, and awakening. If this story opened your eyes, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so we can keep uncovering the truths behind Hollywood's greatest legends. Thanks for watching.